Yeah.
Many Democratic officials with whom I've spoken are worried that President Biden and his family and his inner circle appear to be in complete denial.
They know he is not competent.
Stumbling of speech, sort of confused rambling at times, and then also motor symptoms, lack of expression in the face. None of those things are diagnostic of anything. I just want to be clear about that. But in aggregate, they are flags.
Not everyone is happy with Joe Biden staying in the race. Jake Tapper is throwing an absolute temper tantrum over on CNN after Joe Biden called into Morning Joe and slurred over himself as he was shuffling papers in the background, talking to Miss Mika Scarborough. We have now Tapper unraveling that segment, and he is not happy. He says this guy is basically demented. Listen to what he said. He can't even talk. What are we doing here? Now, what's so strange about Jake is that he was a big defender of Joe Biden's absolute vigor and mental acuity and said to Lara Trump that she was just making fun of his stutter. So what happened, Jake? Here is new Jake, who's all of a sudden very upset about Joe. We'll go back to old Jake and see what he said before.
In reality, 72% of voters say that they believe President Biden is too old. That's according to CNN's most recent polling. Voters have been saying this for quite a long time. The reality is that the Democratic elites are mostly late to acknowledge these age and ability issues compared to the rest of the public.
That's you too, buddy.
The elites have been forced to reckon with it after the debate just 11 days ago.
Yeah, well, after you lied, you knew.
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea I'm too old.
The fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be out on your way to go, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea that I'm too old. Keep in mind, that soundbite is supposed to be reassuring to those Democratic supporters who have gone wobbly.
Yeah.
Many Democratic officials with whom I've spoken are worried that President Biden and his family and his inner circle appear to be in complete denial, not just about whatever might be wrong with him, but the state of his candidacy right now.
Yep, and bunches of Democrats are now supporting him. Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, Jerry Nadler, the Waddler, all of them supporting Joe. They know he is not competent. They know it. We know that they know it. They just said it like 3 days ago, and now they've reversed themselves. So they're continuing the facade. They're continuing, some might call it, the big lie that Joe Biden is all there. Here is Jake Tapper now even bringing on doctors to say, can you tell us about this Parkinson's problem that's happening? And by the way, the Parkinson's doctor apparently was going there and treating other Parkinson's patients there. All right, so they just rigged that letter up. He writes a letter. Oh no, I wasn't there meeting with Joe. I was meeting with other people. And the media's like, oh, that's so nice for you to treat people there who are not named Joe. There's a bunch of other people with Parkinson's in the White House. And apparently the guy didn't stop by Joe to take a look at him like every day, 8 times, maybe once a month. That kind of matches. Anyways, so here's Jake now asking this doctor about this. Can you tell me why Joe Biden has Parkinson's or what's going on?
What was your reaction to the debate? What did you think as a doctor?
Well, there was concern, I think, from the go, frankly. First question you asked, I think right away when I watched the, if it were my dad, there was cause for concern. Stumbling of speech, sort of confused rambling at times, and then also motor symptoms, lack of expression in the face. None of those things are diagnostic of anything. I just want to be clear about that. But in aggregate, they are flags. And I think anybody, and unanimously from the medical professionals I've heard, they would advocate for testing based on what they saw at that debate.
What was your reaction?
Wow, so Jake Tapper he's still going hard on this. Now, if you have this continuing on for another 4 months or so, if you have Jake Tapper who's just going to throw a temper tantrum on CNN and betray everything that he stood for before, because before, Jake Tapper was very upset with people like Lara Trump. You remember this exchange where Lara Trump, this came over Flashback courtesy of ALX on X. She's here, Lara Trump saying, Joe Biden can't even talk, dum-dum. What's the matter with you? And then he's going to come in and say, how dare you come after his stutter?
What I'm referring to, it makes me uncomfortable.
You have no It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you, your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
See that Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Lara. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry.
Yeah, doesn't want to even entertain it. We knew it back in 2020, okay? Joe Biden was gone in the brain. And so now it's weird. There's a little bit of a fissure happening there. Now Jake Tapper has suddenly realized, oh, wait, he is demented. Huff. Shocking. Yeah, right. I don't know that Jake is that dumb. Maybe he is. I mean, it's really shocking that these guys can make it to these positions if they are literally just that dumb and non-observant. Like, they cannot observe this. Everybody could observe it. So the only logical conclusion is they're just liars. They're either liars or idiots. I can't tell you which one it is. I think he's a liar, but he could also be an idiot. I don't know. Anyways, so either way, it's bad. But we also now have CNN, who is now clearly spinning into liar categories, saying now it's not just ableism. This is ageism if you comment on Joe's dementia.
More than 70% of voters think that President Biden is not demonstrating the capacity to be president. 56% of Democrats say that they would be better off with another nominee. Those are the concerns that I'm talking about that are showing up in the numbers and that are affecting his approval rating.
What I find interesting is that issue is more around ageism and ableism and not what this President Biden has done.
Okay, so that's where it's going to go. And I think they're going to come back and, hey, we're all going to get old. We're all going to be a little elderly, and don't be so racist and bigoted about any of it. So Tapper's melting down. You see CNN is asking some questions about it. Lawrence O'Donnell, he's over on MSNBC. He was posting about this. He says, if you saw the White House press corps, many of them are at their absolute worst. So he's circling the wagons around Joe Biden as well. But it's not all love and rainbows over there. This one just came out from another senator from Washington. She's in Dem leadership. President Pro Tem says Biden must seriously consider the best way to preserve his legacy and secure it for the future. So Tapper's not alone, right? There's still some holdouts there. This got posted after Joe Biden said, I'm staying in the race. She said, it's been more than a week. I believe Biden must do more to demonstrate he can campaign strong enough to beat Trump. There's such a case to be prosecuted. He needs to lead that. And so obviously abortion rights are everything. I have a deep appreciation for Joe. Led a historic first term, but we need to see a much more forceful candidate on the campaign stage. He must seriously consider the best way to preserve his legacy. So he's saying maybe it's time to go. We also have some interesting ideas. Carville and others are saying it's time for Joe to get out. Carville has been floating this idea that Barack Obama and others like Clinton can pick the next Democratic candidate. So why don't we just disenfranchise every single Democrat who actually voted enthusiastically for Joe and bought, one of their little hats or whatever they have, I'm with Joe or Dark Brandon or whatever, and they have those merchandise hanging around in their houses or shanties or whatever. I don't know where they live. But anyways, here is Carville saying that these people should all be disenfranchised, which is an insurrection. Here is the conversation.
I don't predict things. I'm just telling you, it's inevitable. He will come to the conclusion. People will get the message to him. He will understand. His family will understand.
I don't think so.
They'll pray on it and they'll make the right decision. I don't have any doubt about it. But while we dilly-dallying around here, somebody's got to think of where we go from here. And that's what I'm trying to say in the time.
Clock is ticking there, James.
Listen, I think you're right. I think your party went down the wrong road, and they went a long
party
way
too, Chris.
down it.
What are you
and
talking
now they
about?
Figure out
You're part of the problem there too, Bucko.
Do you think Clinton and Obama would agree with your idea in the New York Times today for them to drive a town hall,
I have no idea.
a series of town halls?
Better to ask forgiveness and permission. I just throw an idea out there. All right, it's not everybody. I'm just trying to stimulate what we're doing right now to have a conversation about the future and a future without a criminal president and a criminal Supreme Court. We have a criminal Supreme Court now. We have criminal.
Yeah, they're actually talking about investigating Clarence Thomas for criminal charges now. Senator Whitehouse apparently sent a letter over to Merrick Garland one about that. We'll come back on that one. But they want, I guess, prevention of Trump, who is, they call a convicted felon, even though he hasn't been sentenced yet, and that case is probably going to go bye-bye. But they'd rather have Hunter, who's already been found guilty for his crimes, being the de facto president over Joe. So that is James Carville, and the Democrats are still in total disarray. We certainly stand by Jake Tapper. He duped himself. He duped the rest of us. We can understand why he's upset, and he'll continue to pound on Joe Biden, but we also support Joe Biden staying in the race because Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee. He's the most representative of them, and he should not be going anywhere.